Hello there guys, how are we doing? Namaste and welcome to ORA. This is me Odyssey with another reaction video. This is Marvel making a huge announcement. They are changing for better, hopefully. So without further ado, let's check into Cosmic Wonder news. I'm excited, I'm hyped. After that awful review that they've got for Echo, I think this is the right step moving forward. So let's get into this and check this out.
Marvel Studios did something incredibly huge today. A lot of people are overlooking the fact that today, the MCU just took a step at becoming bigger than it's ever been before. Yes, Marvel Studios and the MCU have had some problems, but just think about everything the MCU has in store for us that we already know. Deadpool 3 will be insane. We already know Avengers Secret Wars is going to be epic. And then, of course, the X-Men and the Fantastic Four are coming to the MCU. And Marvel Studios today took a big step in the right direction for the MCU. Yes, it is the release of the Echo series, and yes, it is actually a historic day for Marvel Studios, as they have officially released their first Marvel Studios Spotlight banner project, but I'm not talking about either of these really. What we're talking about today is the official launch of the division of sections of the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Nice! Finally! Bring back the Netflix season, man.
The story of the street level Avengers team begins today with more.
That's what we need. We've all invested in that and we all want that.
Different and separate Avengers teams coming. Kevin Feige has teased this for such a long time, and it's finally happening, and it's a lot bigger than most people realize.
But whatever they did with the Defender was horrible, man. I don't want that. Please don't do that.
And although we are still in the multiverse saga at this point, and this news does affect the multiverse saga, the next saga has the potential to be the best saga yet and the biggest saga yet. Combining so many different teams like the X-Men, the Fantastic Four, the Inhumans if Marvel ever really decides to bring them into the MCU, and multiple different Avengers teams that are really...
If they want to bring Inhumans back, they have to redo the story again. That was horrible. Everything was horrible. The Ramsey guy from Game of Thrones, his career ended after that. It was supposed to be his big break after Game of Thrones. Yeah. After that, he got into Inhumans and his career basically ended. I haven't seen him after that in any other projects or movie series, or maybe I don't know about it. So bring back Inhumans, but make it better.
Really different from each other that will consist of different Avengers characters. So let me explain how the MCU today just got bigger than it's ever been before. And if you're new, be sure to subscribe to the channel to stay up to date on all things relating to the MCU. And if you subscribe and leave a comment down below.
The thing is, like, don't wait until they get very old and you can't do anything with them, and so you have to recast it. We want to see the same old characters in them, you know. They were so good at playing those characters. Let's integrate them into a really good storyline.
Well, you are automatically entered in our giveaway for a chance to win a PS5 and Xbox
okay, guys,
Series
go and
X,
subscribe so you have a chance to win.
Some DC items. MCU, we have had movies and now shows that are in different parts of the Marvel Galaxy. But now we're going to get one-off Avengers films. The Street Avengers, the Cosmic Avengers, the West Coast Avengers, and make no mistake, like I said, they will be divided teams. Not divided as in against each other, although there is
it for the Secret Wars?
Is rumors that Marvel Studios could potentially be developing a Civil War 2 movie right now. And of course, I'm sure we'll get an Avengers vs. X-Men film eventually. At least, we hope we do. But no, these
that would be bonkers, man. Bonkers!
Separate Avengers teams will all be kind of working together. They'll just have different teams doing different things in different parts of the MCU. And the cool thing is they're each going to have their own big bad. In fact, Marvel Studios has already officially announced one big bad for one of the Avengers teams. He's already kind of debuted in the MCU, and he officially comes back to the MCU today. We are talking about Kingpin. In fact, Marvel Studios went as far to say as he is pretty much the Thanos of the street level corner.
He is the level of his smartness that he poses, and the way he manipulates, the way he uses the system, man. Nobody can do better than this Kingpin. They wrote the story of Kingpin so good, so good.
corner of the MCU. This is what Marvel Studios executive and head of development for Disney Plus for Marvel, Brad Winderbaum, was asked in an interview with Screen Rant. He was asked if Kingpin is the Thanos of the street-level corner of the MCU, in which he replied, "Oh man, you kind of hit the nail on the head. I can't say too much, only that as a chapter in Wilson Fisk's life, this is a crucial one and sets the stage in some remarkable ways for what's coming next." And this really does have so many different amazing implications to it. This means we are essentially kind of going to have Avengers films inside of Avengers films. It's kind of going to be like Avengers Inception. And ultimately the goal for Marvel Studios is to have everything come together in the end in a grand Avengers.
In the recent years, the new Echo, has he lost weight? Because he was really huge in Daredevil, right? But now I think he lost quite a weight.
Film, but let's dial it back and scale it down for a second. There will be many different corners of the MCU. We've talked about these different sides a lot. We have the street level Avengers team, we have the cosmic Avengers team, we have the supernatural side, and hopefully during the saga we get kind of a multiversal side. What's really interesting is that moving forward, each of these different sections of the Marvel Cinematic Universe will have their own villains. And let me be very clear, this is very different than what Marvel Studios has done before. Before, with the past 3 phases, each movie had their own individual villain. Captain America had Red Skull, the Winter Soldier, Hydra. Iron Man had Ironmonger, Whiplash. Hulk had Abomination, and Thor is kind of the exception because Loki shows up again as the main villain of the Avengers film. However, that's just phase 1, and ultimately Thanos doesn't really appear as the villain in any movie, really. Yes, he appears in Guardians of the Galaxy, but Ronan is the main villain of that film. And no villain is really dealt with by more than one person or one group of people. For example, Hela. Nobody really dealt with Hela besides Thor, the Hulk, Valkyrie, and Loki. Really, every single villain for every movie was secluded and kept to one movie. Now that's all about to change. With the separate corners of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, each having their own villains, their own big bads, the MCU is about to become a lot more connected. Because now these villains of these sections of the MCU are going to appear in more than one film, in more than one project, because they'll be both in movies and in Disney Plus shows. And Kingpin really is the perfect example. We've already seen him in 2 different projects, and not to mention Daredevil as well. Kingpin was introduced in Hawkeye. He is now the villain of Echo. He'll also go on to still be one of the main villains of the Daredevil series, and then he will go on to be a Spider-Man villain. We've never really seen this before. The only person we've really seen this with is Loki.
I knew Kingpin because of the animated Spider-Man series. Most of the the street-level villains were all from there, but we never get to see them in a Spider-Man or in the movies, right? So I think hopefully this is gonna change.
But he himself is now his own main character and isn't exactly a villain anymore. In fact, he's kind of the savior of the multiverse right now. So Marvel Studios hasn't done this, and it's a great way to really connect everything, even more so than it's ever been. And like I mentioned, this also sets it up for heroes to be more connected as well. Daredevil has now been in She-Hulk. He is in the Echo series releasing today, and of course he has his own series showing up. And not to mention, he was also in Spider-Man.
That was the best part.
You can see how the interconnectivity is actually becoming more than it's ever been, despite really not feeling it that much throughout phase 4 and phase 5. But imagine really seeing a bunch of these awesome heroes interact with each other throughout multiple different projects, movies, and shows, and not just for the sake of having cameos, but for the actual sake of the story. You see, Kingpin is really going to tie a lot of different characters together. Not only is he appearing in multiple different projects,
so it does look like they're coming together, but at the same time, they haven't done justice to Hawkeye and the character that Haley Steinfeld plays. We need more of them. They need to be in a better storylines. I think they're gonna integrate them together with Florence Pugh character.
Projects, but he's also going to become the mayor of New York City. And from what we've heard about what's going to happen in Daredevil, he's going to make a law that makes it illegal to be a vigilante. So a lot of heroes have a pretty big reason to come together to defeat Kingpin. Story-wise, it's fantastic. It essentially is an Avengers film, which it is indeed going to be. This is going to be an Avengers film when they come together.
There's more to what this character that they developed in Falcon series.
However, it won't consist of everything and everyone that is happening in all of these different parts of the MCU. This is the team that is going to be dealing with Kingpin in New York. Then we're probably going to have a team on the West Coast. And since there's a West Coast Avengers team in the comics, we're assuming we'll probably get that in the MCU as well. After all, it does make sense to have two different teams on two different sides of the country of the United States of America. And I wouldn't be surprised if an Avengers team gets placed elsewhere, somewhere in the world, or multiple teams placed throughout the world. And it's also important to note that some of these teams might not be official Avengers teams.
Okay.
Like the Midnight Suns. The supernatural / monster side of the MCU is gonna be huge. At least that's what we're all hoping for. With characters like Moon Knight, Blade, Deadpool, Doctor Strange, Ghost Rider, the Black Knight, Jack Russell, Elsa Bloodstone, and more. The potential is insanely big, and
Ghost Rider.
The big bad for that side of the MCU, the supernatural side, could be Mephisto himself, appearing in multiple different projects because he is going to be intertwined in all of these characters' story until they all eventually come together to defeat him. We know that he's probably going to be in the Ironheart series. That is according to Deadline. They reported that Sacha Baron Cohen is indeed in the project and is believed to be playing Mephisto based off of their sources. Then insiders have come out and stated that his character should be
Didn't the trailer of Ironheart dropped in like a year ago, and they have what's going on with that film? I think nobody wanted to watch that, and ever since that Blue Beetles came out, it almost looked the same. So maybe they're waiting for or halting the project. They're gonna make some changes, and people don't want to see the same thing again and again.
Appearing in other projects as well. So we could be looking at the big bad of the supernatural side, and he should bring these characters together not just in one big team up film, but throughout multiple different projects leading up to that film. So you can see how the MCU could start to become bigger than it's ever been before and more connected than it's ever been before. And these are just two sides of the MCU. We know we're also going to have the story of the X-Men and the story of the Fantastic Four. The X-Men are going to be really intertwined as well, having individual character stories and team stories. Then there's the cosmic side, and there's a lot of story to tell.
Why do I feel like X-Men will change the course of Marvel? Once we get to see the Deadpool, I know it's not fully Marvel, but that will set a course. You know, they will put them on a path of redemption. That's what I like to believe.
With the Celestials and cosmic entities, we have only been briefly introduced to these huge characters, and they play huge roles in Marvel Comics, so you know they're going to dive further into these as well. And the best part is, even though they're going to be separate corners of the MCU, separate Avengers teams, ultimately at the end, there will be a huge Avengers Endgame, Avengers Secret Wars like project that'll bring them all together. And that film has the potential to really and truly be one of the biggest films of all time, if not the biggest film that Marvel Studios could.
That's an awesome news. I hope if they stick to the plan, it will be better, and they won't go to the path of the same BS that they were doing with all the previous projects since 2021. Hopefully this is a right path for Marvel. The street level heroes are beloved. So that was that, people. What do you think about this? Write down in the comment section below, and also please do subscribe to our channel. It will mean a lot, and your support is all that we need. And yes, remember to smile and stay humble. Namaste.